Next panel discussion will be a discussion on how to raise the ceiling and make a career in advertising accessible to all. Please welcome Jason Spencer, Business Development Director at ITV, Sarah Jenkins, Chief Operating Officer, Saatchi and Saatchi London, Pete Coates, Managing Director at Omnicom Media Group Newcastle, and James Hillhouse, co-founder of A Commercial Break.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. Really nice to be here. We've already done the introductions, really. So we'll jump into the meat of it, I think. And just briefly, just want to set up why what we're going to talk about is important, and I'm sure you're all aware of how important it is anyway. But last year, VCCP and the APG commissioned a piece of research in which 2,000 16 to 24-year-olds were asked about careers in the creative industries. I'm sure this is a report that some of you will have seen. Now, a fifth of those people who were surveyed said that being unable to afford to move to London stopped them from considering a creative career at all. And only a third of young people from working class backgrounds outside London knew someone working in the creative sector. And to be honest, I'm surprised it's even that high. And that's compared with half of people from advantaged backgrounds in London and the South East who obviously already knew someone. And because of this, these people, this third of people are feeling that the industry is not for them. And then I'm sure a lot of you will have been there or heard about it, but in his speech at the annual Leeds Summit this February, Labour Shadow Minister Sir Chris Bryant spoke of the importance of a creative education for all children and challenged the industry to come into schools in the Rhondda and talk about a career in advertising. So going into schools outside London, and that, I think that's an interesting thing to think about, because I'm sure you're all aware of the organisation, the DMA. They talk about how social mobility has to happen from classroom to boardroom all the way through, and that means you've got to start making progress at the very beginning of that journey. So the purpose of this session is to kind of do that, is to look at what we all can do to support and nurture our future talent while they're still in education. And we're going to do this by looking at two different initiatives that are doing just that. So SJ and Jason are going to speak about the Upriser programme, brilliant Upriser programme, and Pete is here, who's going to talk about what OMG is doing with Media Smart. So let's talk about Upriser to start with. So if I can start with you, SJ, can you just give us a bit of background on it, how it started, what the thought was behind it?
Yeah, sure. There's a long story and a short story. I'm like, try and make it really short. So this is a short story to Upriser. Saatchi and Saatchi turned 50, not 148 years old, but 50 in 2020. So you can imagine we all sat around the boardroom going, well, how are we going to celebrate? What we're going to do? What's our moment? And at one point, we were going to build the first agency in the metaverse. Remember the metaverse? Then we were going to be the first AI-fueled agency. And then, really great, someone in the meeting went, it's not about tech and it's actually about people. That's all we are. We don't even own our own buildings. We are where we are because of our people, and if we're going to be about celebrating the last 50 years and also the next 50 years, it has to be about people. So once we got there, you very quickly, of course, start thinking about the pipeline, and then you very quickly realise the pipeline is really quite broken. Not enough creativity in schools, ridiculously expensive cities to live in, etc., etc. So we said, you know what, our 50th year will all be about, we'll build legacy D&I programs to make sure the next generation can get powered up. And as we all know, because we work in a creative environment, when you apply creativity to a problem, actually you come up with some really cool answers. So we developed Saatchi, a few initiatives, Saatchi Home for affordable housing, Saatchi Open for access, but Saatchi Ignite was our schools program. And we were like, right, what are the real problems with school programs? People come and go with helicopter in and out, or they might pop in once a year, or the teachers are busy and we don't appreciate it. So we're like, let's start with the problems, we'll attack them all. So Saatchi Ignite was built and architected based on those barriers. So we went, right, we are in for 7 years with any school that we go into. So just literally strike out that barrier that we're not committed. We will commit 1,000 hours, and quite a big agency, so that builds up quite quickly across mentoring. And we said we'll go where the kids are and where the teachers are. We won't expect assemblies. We'll go to the classroom and we'll just help teach maths using creativity, or we'll teach English with creativity. So there were some core principles around Saatchi Ignite that got us going. And then we had 3 pillars, 3 C's. 1, obvious one, careers. So really talking to the kids about careers and how to use creativity and how creative industry is amazing. We talked about curriculum. We'll go where the classes are. And the third one was character. Because one of the things we also recognise is that we can do all this work for so many kids in state schools. Confidence is such an unbelievably hard thing to build up, particularly relative to their privately educated peers. So what we're going to do to really boost confidence, which is why we double down on mentoring. So that was Saatchi Ignite. 2 or 3 years in, it was under lockdown as well. So it was extraordinary. We're doing like teams to a school of 1,000 trying to do this, and it was quite scary. But it was just, the energy was great. And as anyone knows who's gone into a school, once you spend time in a school, like the energy comes back and you go again and again. So it grew quickly, really good. Ofsted loved it, which is a good sign. Like Ofsted, big tick from the inspectors, and we helped be part of that school moving to outstanding in a very deprived area of London. So we're like, right, we've done this. Let's now go to a coastal town. Let's get to the north. Let's get out of London. And we're like, yeah. And then we're like, this is like one school at a time, like 1,000 kids. This is good, but like we've got a whole generation we need to help. So we're like, what can we build to help other amazing creative companies lean in? So we built a playbook and we built a program to help amazing creative companies partner with amazing schools with amazing assistant principals. So we're trying to do as much heavy lifting as possible. The playbook's great because we're just piling in what we already know. Our partners are amazing. So ITV, how amazing, as our founding partner, first in London and then Salford. We've got Cowshed PR in Cardiff, IMA Home in Leeds, and the Leeds Agency in Scotland. So we're really just like, let's get out there. So we've got our founding partners. We've got about 3,000 kids have been powered up as a result. The playbook does the heavy lifting. The partnership is critical. An amazing, amazing assistant principal, such an unlock for how we can work with the rhythm of a school. And yeah, we're off, but there's work to be done.
Well, a lot of the work you've done already, like you say, getting those founding partners, and I'd just be really interested. Jason, can you tell us how and why ITV got involved?
Yeah, I mean, I think everyone in this room probably buys into the fact that having diverse teams helps to get to different solutions. You come up with different ideas, you build in different experiences, and you don't end up with the same people in the room coming up with the same ideas. Now, ITV as a PSB, reflecting, shaping society and culture, needs to do that. It's an imperative. We're also an organisation that makes content and creative, and to come up with great creative ideas, you need different people doing that. So it was a real need for us. So we kind of put some clear markers. I'm at pains not to say targets, but markers to reflect the nation through everything from ethnicity to social mobility at all levels, but also at a senior level in the organisation, so you could drive that. One of the areas, I think, and it was touched on in the previous section, that I think is the most intangible because it's not a protected element, and it's the most difficult to change, suddenly, is social mobility. And so while we're making good progress, we're not there yet. So we've got a number of initiatives, but actually when the Upriser programme came along, some great relationships we got with SJ through London. When ITV moved to White City to anchor us in that place, which has lots of areas of kind of deprivation around, we partnered with Kensington Aldridge about a year or so ago to great effect. Really rewarding for the students, for the teachers, and also for our staff. We wanted to make sure that it wasn't just happening in London. Salford is our biggest base outside. We've got 700 staff there. And so thinking about anyone who's been to Media City, it's a bit of an island within Salford, building that partnership. So we went out with SJ, identified a school, and we built a great programme which builds on everything that SJ said, but actually is bespoke to the needs of that school.
And what are you seeing in terms of the impacts that's having at the Salford Academy?
Well, I think one of the most important things is to listen, not have an identikit of everything looking the same. So we built a programme. We sat down with all the teaching staff. I always wondered what happened at one of those teachers' away days where your kids get to stay at home, and now I've seen it, so I can tick that off the bucket list. But we built a programme with them. So one of the things they said to us is, look, actually, girls are struggling at GCSE level relative to boys, which is quite unusual, and struggle with confidence to think about what kind of careers might be open to them beyond that, let alone thinking about A levels. So we built a series of speed networking events where we brought in women under the age of 30, 35 in our organisation from the Northwest in things like makeup, props, finance, camera work, so we could show them what a day in the life looked like and build a programme around that. Many of them haven't been into an environment in Media City like an office. So yesterday, in fact, we ran an office tour for some of the kids who'd sort of applied for that and brought them in and gave them an interactive experience in loads of different departments, from going to a studio being on the set of Coronation Street, reading the weather, being with Gamal, but really, really building that, and we're building work experience programs. And the whole idea is to get to a point across before the end of 7 years, but hopefully in about 2 to 3 years, where we're creating bespoke roles, and we've got children from the school who are delivering this project at ITV.
Yeah, it's incredible. It's fantastic. And I mean, the obvious question is, and I know one of the answers to this is more partners, please. But what's next for Uprise? What are the plans going forward? The ambitions going forward?
I think measurement's critical. We want to make sure we are proving that we're able to move schools forward, individuals forward, and also prove the return in our businesses as well. Because anecdotally, it's gold dust. The amount of pride and retention we get from anyone who's involved with the programs. And measurement's important, but the big goal must be how much business can impact education. For me, that's super important. We've had, in truth, I don't know, it's been recorded, isn't it? But terrible funding of our schools over the last 10, 15 years. Knock-on effect is going to be disastrous for us. The government needs to catch up, but in the meantime, what business can do to help that generation coming through is disproportionate. So for business, small, one-man band up, 10,000, 20,000 employees, the difference that business can make in our schools will help transform our nation.
And I think from our side, we're looking at the ways that we can roll it out to other cities. We've got ITV bases everywhere, like Leeds, Birmingham, etc. We're thinking about how we can do that in a manageable way, because it does take people's time, and it is that commitment around the day job. But I think equally the point of today is to try and get more businesses to do things like this in probably a collaborative way, because I think there's 1,000 kids at Salford City Academy, all of whom have had at least one, if not 3, 4, 5 interactions. If even half the people in this room were to get involved in schemes like that, it could have a huge impact on the next generation in North West.
And can I ask just one more question on Uprising? So you said one of the important things is commitment. I suppose that's the fourth C, right? Is businesses making a commitment to those schools. Have you ever come across, is that a kind of a sticking point for some businesses to come in for 7 years? Or is that an attraction that you get to develop the relationship?
Yes, it's definitely, everyone here is like, I should be back at work, I've got things to do. Like, we're very busy, no one's got enough time. So it's definitely why some people are resistant. We've actually started small. We didn't want like 20 partners. We wanted to have a tight cohort and make sure we were learning. But we know moving forward, people will be worried about commitment, but it has its own momentum. The return is immediate. The playbook does do a lot of the heavy lifting, and the assistant principals do a lot of the heavy lifting. And you know what? As soon as you say you're doing it, you then have to do it. So suddenly the commitment goes away because you've told your clients, you've talked about it in a pitch, etc. So say it out loud, and then it has to happen.
Yeah. What have you found, Jason? Was it an easy sell into the business?
I think, because we've done it in London and seen the impacts that, we just wanted to make sure that we didn't leave too much of a gap from the first one in London to the second one here in Salford. But I think the thing you don't really always appreciate, because you start off by trying to get, and I know some of my team are here today, but you start off by trying to get your team to give their time up because they've got to fit it around the day job. But you forget on a selfish level the satisfaction people get out of doing something that isn't what they're doing day in, day out. So I'd like to think that actually more and more people want to do these things, because although it is a time commitment, it might be low down the to-do list. Actually, we all need that balance in our day jobs.
Yeah.
And great ideas will come from these sorts of things. We've done brainstorming with kids on ideas for brands targeting their age group. You get to a very different place than when you've got loads of people in their 30s and 40s coming up with an idea for teenage brands.
Yeah, no, it's great. Thank you. Listen, that's fantastic. Let's move on to Media Smart now, the initiative that you've partnered with, Pete. Sure, again, a lot of you are aware of this, but for those of you who aren't, Media Smart is the non-profit education program run by the Advertising Association for 7 to 18-year-olds. It's a really great thing. It provides free teaching resources and parent guides on subjects like social media, influencer marketing, greenwashing, and digital advertising. Now, Media Smart's mission is also to inspire and provide pathways for young people to embark on a career in advertising. So similar kind of thing that we've been talking about. And Uprise is actually one of the initiatives that's listed on their website. If you go to the website, you'll see it there. And Media Smart's recently partnered with OMG to create a training workshop for 14 to 15-year-olds to learn about media literacy and the different roles in the advertising industry. So, Pete, obvious question, but can you tell me why OMG came to be involved in this, and what's the ambition for those workshops?
Of course. So I guess the easiest answer to that is our European Chief Executive, Dan Clays, is chair of MediaSmart, so is very actively involved with a lot of what they do, and very passionate about this particular, sort of piece in particular, trying to drive social mobility within our organisation. So I think, that kind of agenda to try to kind of develop education within schools led to the opportunity to us kind of working in partnership with MediaSmart to support the development of a training workshop and a toolkit of materials that we can take into schools, but actually anybody can take into schools in order to be able to kind of talk to kids about our industry, talk about careers in our industry, talking about digital literacy, and kind of really give a bit of a snapshot overview to try to kind of show people, that what goes on behind the scenes. I think if anybody in this room works in media, they are probably still to this day explaining to their friends and their families and people that they know what they actually do. Yes, we make the adverts turn up on the television and the posters turn up on the big sort of sites within the industry. So I think there's a challenge within media generally, people understanding what it is and how the careers exist. Needing to sort of take that into sort of environments and into schools where the kids just aren't exposed to several things in terms of potential career opportunities that they have. Just helps to kind of drive that forward a little bit. So the idea behind the workshops is we kind of break it down into 4 key areas that we can run. The first is very much about sort of media and digital literacy, sort of helping kids to understand as consumers when they are sort of navigating social or navigating the web in general, why the adverts that they are seeing are there and the things that go into that, and what agency they have in being able to control the experience that they have online, which obviously has a kind of a wider social impact as well. It sort of develops on from there to kind of give a bit of a snapshot into the different types of careers that exist within our sector as well, to kind of appeal to kids who perhaps feel they excel in different subjects, and seeing how sort of different specialisms that they might have in their education can kind of lead into different careers within our industry. It develops on from there, similar to what we're talking about with Upriser, to sort of have a section where we can give kids the opportunity to work on a live brief. And obviously our contribution there is kind of developing briefs in partnership with our clients to give them something to work on. And what we aim to do with the workshops as well is try to take a cohort of people from our industry, either from our early years recruitment team or our early years team, people who've been within our business, for a year or two, that are maybe not that far away in age from the kids that they're talking to, so they can see people working in our industry, and they can do a Q&A with people working in our industry that kind of feel a little bit closer to them, to sort of make that step from where they are now into our industry feel a bit more achievable.
And so what's your experience? So that's the kind of format of it, but can you just tell us a little bit about the experience of doing those workshops, the kind of what feedback you get, what your team are getting out of doing it?
So we're literally right at the beginning. This is literally just launching. There's been a couple of kind of trial workshops that have been run predominantly to try to optimize the format and the creative, making sure that we are, not producing something that's too long and kind of losing people's attention, and making sure we're getting the value out of it. So it literally is just launching. We haven't been talking about it broadly externally because it's been under embargo for now. But the thing that we've done within our organisation is completely democratise the delivery of this. So the idea of all of the content it is able to lift and shift very simply for anybody within our organisation to go into a school that they have a connection with, whether that's a local school to where they live, or a local school where they grew up, or just a school that they have a friend who works in. All the speaker notes are there, all the content is there. It would be very, very simple for anybody in our organisation to be able to pick that up and take it in. In fact, off the back of the comments that Sir Chris Bryant mentioned, that you mentioned at the beginning, we have some people in our organisation who grew up in South Wales who have taken them up on the challenge, and they're going to take the workshop into 3 schools in the Rhondda constituency within the summer term this year. So we're trying to sort of pick up that initiative and take it more broadly. We have bases now in London, in Manchester, and in Newcastle, and we have been forging partnerships with schools in all 3 locations in order to sort of talk to people that are physically close to our locations. But again, we are encouraging people to take it further. So if they've grown up in other areas and found themselves, relocating to one of the locations that we're in, we are actively encouraging them, to take it to, somewhere in Scotland, or take it to somewhere in North or South Wales, or wherever they feel that they've got a passion to take it to. We want to encourage them to do that.
And how have you found that? Because Jason sort of talked a little bit about the impact on staff morale, shall we say, of doing these kind of things. What's been the enthusiasm like from the people you work with to get involved in the initiative?
It's been huge. We've got a large number of people who've signed up in order to be able to do it, and we're just in the process of kind of disseminating those toolkits to people in order to be able to go and actively go and encourage that. Obviously, there is a job to do to try to make contact with schools in the first instance, in order to try to identify who the right contact is and kind of explain what we're doing and try to encourage that to happen. Reception has been positive from sort of some many of the schools that we've talked to, but I think broadly speaking, within our organisation there is a lot of conversation around how we can be more active within DEI in general. We have a social mobility employee group who have very much led the rollout of this initiative more broadly. There's a lot of space and time taken within our organisation to allow communication of these kind of initiatives out more broadly to the population across the country. So when these things do come about, people jump at the chance to get involved.
Great. Listen, let's open up to involve both schemes now. One thing that we've talked about a lot really is about why the people are doing, why companies are doing this, why we're taking it outside of London. But can we just talk about what the benefits are? Why should, with the previous panel talked about priorities, right? Why should this be a priority for businesses to think we need to get behind initiatives like this and we need to do them outside London?
I think we're constantly telling, if you're in an agency or media, and constantly telling brands to not be short-termist. And I think we have to think in the medium and long term around how we're going to find the next generation of talent, and the impact on the students and the next generation, but also on your businesses, will be disproportionate. So I think it's about almost recalibrating your priorities, saying like, this is what I have to do now or this week or whatever, but actually if I don't put in the foundations for this, medium to long term, I'm just going to be on this constant cycle of recycling essentially the same bunch of people in the industry rather than changing the dynamic.
And could I add to that? Completely agree. The mid to long term, that's where we're going to see the real return. But we're really, it's also luck, isn't it, pitching, but we're very lucky we won John Lewis. So this time last year, almost the day we found out we won John Lewis. And the first chemistry meeting, all important, we were really nervous. The second or third slide, we were talking about some of our products, some big, deep strategic projects we do. We also talked about Upriser. We did not get off that slide for 10 minutes. And we were like timing, we were like, we've got to get on to the case studies. And the CMO wouldn't let us move on. I think partly to test us, where's the substance of what you're saying, but genuinely then also fell in love with our commitment and our values. So it's clients are looking for this level of commitment and contribution back in to society. So there's an immediate short-term uplift of getting something like this right and then shouting about it.
And I guess just to add to that, I think we heard earlier some of the kind of the broader macroeconomic conditions that are facing us. I think if we think about London, many of what we heard about to begin with is amplified there in particular. And I think one of the reasons why we have set up an operation in Newcastle is because it's increasingly challenging for people from working class backgrounds in particular to actually get into our career, regardless of whether they're aware of it or not. There are barriers to working in several industries, particularly if that would involve moving to London, or the cost of travel in London, or the cost of subsistence, just for a day at work. So those challenges aren't as amplified in cities like Manchester or Leeds or Newcastle or Nottingham or Sheffield or several places around the north. So actually, our industry could do well to bring their business closer to some of the people that they want to see working in the industry, in order to be able to actually sort of change behaviour, in order to kind of get some of those people in. And I think there are clear long-term benefits to that. Broadening the talent pool that you've got access to, that'll sort of help you operationally rather than just in terms of trying to drive diversity. So yeah.
Great. No, thank you.
Yeah.
Listen, I'll better start wrapping things up now
Yeah.
because we could just talk all day, couldn't we? But presumably you have homes to go to and things like that. So let's not do that. Thanks so much to the panel for explaining this. We just wanted to end. Why not end on a call to action, right? So that any companies in this room, please do get in touch about MediaSmart if you want to find out more information on how you can get involved with careers training, or actually if you're running any training programs at the moment that you'd like included on the website. Do we have a QR code? Yes, we have a massive one over my shoulder. Always look left is a conclusion there. But listen, I think we'd all agree, just to complete this session, that it is our collective responsibility to nurture that next generation of talent in order to, as we were talking about, future-proof this industry of ours for years to come. Because ultimately, if we want to get more representative in that boardroom, we really do have to start in the classroom. Thanks, everybody.